Before we get to the show, I just wanted to thank our sponsors. One of them is bagyourselfabillboard.com, which is this new competition where you can own a billboard right here on Old Street for 2 weeks and get like 1 million online impressions on top of that. So it's super cool. I'm actually going to submit
it's super exciting.
an application for Silicon Reel. You just do a 60-second video. You tell why your startup is the best in the UK. They select one, and then you literally own this space for like 2 weeks. So it's cool. You know, we've had so many people on here that have great ideas and great tech, but you know, if you don't get the word out, it's hard to get that traction.
It's hard. So. Lots of noise to cut through. So
So that's cool. You should do it too.
Yeah. I think Lingos is going to do it.
Any small business or startup who's been around for less than 5 years, check that out. So bagyourselfabillboard.com, 60-second video. So do that. Understood. Founders for Schools. Can you walk us through that?
Yay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Founders for Schools, as you described very accurately earlier, is a way of helping students understand some of the principles that I was talking about earlier, about all of the companies that are around us are created by people like their parents, like them, like their mates. Most of the jobs are created by companies, by people who have started up companies that are less than 5 years old. In the US, there's a fabulous stat, which 100% net new jobs created by companies less than 5 years old in the US. 25% of the GDP growth in this country created by just 6% of companies. Those 6% of companies didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. That's phenomenal. So, however, I've got school-age kids, 13, 14, and 11. And in their school, when they're thinking and learning about careers, they're being told about the sort of careers that you and I were told about, when we were in school. But those aren't the careers that are going to exist when these kids graduate. And you've probably seen some statistics about, the greatest problem that we have in our tech world is that the university graduates and the high school students don't have skill sets that we need. So starting up Founders for Schools was a way of helping schools get introduced by founders of businesses so that we could make it obvious why running a business is the best thing ever to do. So it started out as we do this conference, the Silicon Valley comes to the UK in November, usually aimed at university students to help them understand the sorts of businesses that they might want to create or join. We had some leftover fabulous speakers, same sort of speakers that you have on this, who are running the companies that are really, really interesting and growing really fast. We used to have those people just at university, and they'd come and talk to the students and say, yeah, I'm running this company, it's really fabulous, and it's so much better than what was there before. And the kids get excited and think, oh, I can do that. When I graduate, I can do that. We had some leftover speakers about 3 years ago, and we literally had every lecture theatre in Cambridge filled. There are 6,500 people that come to this conference on the weekend, but we still had some leftover speakers because they love coming and talking about their companies. So we said, let's stick them in high schools. Let's stick them in the secondary schools because there's kids there too. And actually, it's a shame because the kids often make decisions when they're 11, 12, 13 that stop them from being able to do the really interesting engineering or mathematical type jobs that are super useful when you get to be, to want to run your own company, because they allow you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And so we took some of the speakers, contacted some high schools and said, so we got some really cool speakers and they're available from 10:30 to 11:30 on Thursday. Can you get some kids for us? And we did that for a few schools around. This was in Cambridge, and it was electric.
This is like high school age?
This is high school.
Okay,
This is,
so
we
teens.
did year 9 and year 10, so they were, let's say 13, 14.
Okay.
And the speakers came back and said, that was the most amazing thing that I've ever done. The kids flocked around them and wouldn't let them leave because they had so many questions. Mm-hmm. And they'd never felt such energy from an audience, for years. All I saw was the speakers coming back and saying, that's amazing, you've got to do that again. I'm sure that I converted at least 100 kids to want to do something else. And they were just, so they'd never met anybody who'd run their own business before. I don't know, why hadn't they met anybody who'd ever run their own business before? And I said, I don't know. There's a lot of entrepreneurs. I don't know how they couldn't have, because it was in a fairly entrepreneurial community where we started it. So that was that day. About a week or 2 weeks later, I had 2 different parents stop me in the street and say, my child, you put some people, and you run into these people randomly, but they stop me and said, my child hasn't stopped talking about the business they're going to run when they graduate, and they actually haven't stopped, I haven't been able to get them out of the physics book, and they were definitely not interested in physics before. And this is a girl. And it's like, interesting. So, and then I'm scratching my head saying, and what school, and what speakers did we send there? Because I was trying, because then you're trying to piece together this sort of thing. So 7 or 8 months after that, the head teacher emailed and said, are you gonna, do you know any other founders that could come again? Because, when we did our survey at the end of the year, the kids all vote on what the single most inspiring thing is that has happened to them in the whole year. And the majority of the kids had said, oh, well, that program, when you had those people who ran businesses come in and talk to us, that was the single most inspiring thing.